Hello, Valerie.
Hey, Omar, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, I couldn't be better.
So, how long did it take you to get here?
Ooh, I'm mercy. I left yesterday. I thought I was going to have to spend the night. It took about an hour.
Really?
Yes.
So, you live in Fort Worth, right?
Closer to Burleson.
And it's an hour?
Yes.
Wow. Traffic?
Yes, and a lot of tollways. Next time I have to take the tollways off, and it'll probably be a little longer.
Mm.
But we're here.
Next time, you could sleep over here.
I'm
and then
spending the night.
Yes. And then I'll see you in the morning.
Yeah.
So, how long have you lived in Fort Worth?
All my life. All my
Really?
life. So I guess we would add that up. It would be 58 years.
58 years.
Yes.
No way.
Don't tell nobody.
So, are you are you a big proud Texan?
Of course.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Don't mess
what.
with Texas.
Yes, that's one of the things that as we were coming here, because we drove from California all the way here,
Okay.
and as we're driving here, everything was Texas.
Of course.
It was welcome to Texas. Don't mess with Texas.
Right. Right.
Texas air conditioning. Texas pizza. Texas
Everything that's big
everything.
that's in Texas. Right.
and,
Yeah.
and that's great, and it's great because it's not only proud to be in Dallas or Austin or San Antonio or Houston. It's like Texas. Everybody's in Texas,
Right.
and that's it.
Yeah.
You don't have people segregated, which is
Right.
good.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. So you were born in Texas, I'm assuming, right?
I was. Born in Fort Worth, Texas.
Uh-huh. Didn't you live also in Houston?
For 2 years, it was kind of fast for me. All that traffic and 45 and 16 and 59 and turn this way and turn that way. So, and the floods.
Oh, uh-huh.
I give much respect to those.
I know.
Yeah, that's too much water for me to drink.
Yes. Did you go through like any big floods?
I did.
Really?
I did. I was working there 1 year, and I remember my children were younger, and they wouldn't let us leave our job to go because they was, protecting us.
Mm-hmm.
But I told them, I said, look, if I got to go with my children. I got to
Right.
go where my children are.
Right.
So when I left, the water was coming all the way up to the door of my car. And I said,
my
I just
gosh.
prayed and I said, Lord, please just let me make it to my children. So I did. And it wasn't long after that, I left Houston. It was a little bit
You were
much
like,
for
that's
me.
it.
That's it.
That's it. And
That's
where
all
were your
it-
kids? Were your kids at home?
No, they was at school and daycare at that time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did they evacuate the kids?
They did.
Okay.
So I was trying to get there to them.
Mm,
So it was a lot, and it was too much water for me to drink.
yeah. What about here now in Fort Worth? A lot better.
A lot better. This is where I was born and raised, and my parents, rooted from East Texas. My father was from Pittsburgh, Texas. My mom was from Tyler, Texas, the Rose State.
Mm,
So Texas has always been my life.
mm-hmm.
I've traveled out, but I've came right back.
Yeah. How's Tyler, Texas?
Tyler is real, family oriented.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a lot of people. Everybody knows everybody and that kind of thing. Everybody offers you food and things like that. My mom was from Tyler and
Mm-hmm.
she loved it there. My daughter went to school there, Texas College. And, she studied criminal justice. So I'm real proud of Tyler. I put a lot of money there. Educated my daughter there. So, yeah, I have a lot of roots there in Tyler as well.
Mm. And then did you start working young?
I did.
How old were you?
I was 16 years old. I graduated high
man.
school at the age of 16.
Oh, really?
And
Wow.
I immediately had to get a job. I mean, that's the way I was reared. My father taught us that you have to work for what you want.
Right.
Don't expect for someone to give you something. You go and work for what you want. And he always told us needs over wants at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So I had graduated and I had my first child at that age too,
At 16?
at 16.
So you had a lot of stuff going on when you were 16. You're
Ne-
busy.
Needless to say, but I made it through. I had strong genes. My mom, she showed me how to love, and my father showed me survival mode. So I put the two together, and I did what I had to do to be a mother. And I went to work at Tandy's Wire and Cable at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a part of Radio Shack. We made all the parts for
Mm.
Radio Shack at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I started my experience.
Mm.
And I've been in my field now for over 41 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that something that you see yourself continue on doing?
I think until I retire.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's, you would say that's something that you love to do?
I always have loved to work with my hands.
Mm.
In interesting things always amaze me, and that's the kind of things that I like to do. I get off into my own world and get me a set of these and some music, and I go.
Right.
Yeah, that's always been my thing.
Mm. And then did you, after high school, were you ever able to attend college or anything like that?
I took some college, yes, I did. I even went into learning how to repair copiers
Oh.
and some laptops and things like that. Like I said, I've always been busy, you know, doing different things, anything that was going to help me and my family.
Mm.
Right.
So you were always into the electronics and using your hands to put stuff together and breaking them apart.
Not too much breaking them up. Well, yes, because I ventured out, and worked at different places. After I left Tandy Wire and Cable, I went to eventually work for Motorola, and I left Motorola and I went to work for General Dynamics at that time, which is now Lockheed. And I worked for them for many years, and I worked in the rework and repair area there. So I was always fixing something that was broke. So that would be my broke. And from there on, it's just been all of these years.
So when did you start working at GE?
GD,
GD. Oh,
General Dynamics.
Oh, right. Okay,
Right.
sorry.
Let me see. That would have been 31 years ago.
Okay.
And I worked there. My daughter was, I believe she was 4 at that time. So it was 31 years ago. And I worked there many years. It was just a lot of strikes and a lot of layoffs and then strikes and that kind of thing.
Really? What were the strikes about? Were you leading the strikes?
I let them have those. they sometimes they got a little rowdy. So I it just kind of got a little hard for me to deal with that and to raise my family. Some people were in better positions than I was at that time, and I had to adventure out and try to find a little more stability. The benefits and everything were really good there, but I just couldn't keep doing the strikes and the layoffs. I trying to find more stability for my family. So that's
How would you see? Do you think there's a huge difference for a woman working back in the day and now?
I do.
You do?
I do.
How so?
Well, as being a woman doing the kind of work that I was used to, it was always more advancement for the men than it was for the ladies. And I noticed that a lot, not only for the jobs itself, but as far as the pay. I always knew that, I was on a low scale, but I did the same job they did. But I got a lot of experience. I didn't let that bother me. I just pushed forward, because I knew that one day it would be my time. Wasn't anyone or nothing going to stop me. I just had to keep pushing forward. And that's, one of the things that I instilled in my children. I said, if they get on the floor, you get on the floor. If they sweep or empty the trash, that's what you do. You will eventually make it to your destination. And that's what my son tells me all the time. Mama, I saw you do it, so I don't have a problem doing it. My son is a machinist now, and he's been for at the company he works for over 31 years now. So I believe I set some stones in there somewhere.
Right. And that's interesting because you gotta have perseverance, right? That even though at the moment you're not getting appreciated for the work that you do,
Right.
and you still continue to doing it
Right.
because you know eventually it's gonna be all worth it,
Right.
right? You're kind of working for that breaking point,
Right.
to the point where you're to the perseverance where you know eventually you're gonna break through and it's
Right.
gonna be all worth it.
Right. If it's for nothing but for my grandchildren to look back and
Mm.
say how hard my grandmother worked, or I seen her get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go every day, whether she felt like it or not, she still went, and she went with pride. And you have to set examples for your children and their children, and it goes on down because it take a village to raise your children. So that's why I do what I do and how I do it. It's just something that I don't have too much pride to, do the things that I do. And regardless of um, how the industry introduced themselves to me, I just keep on doing what I know is right.
Right. Yeah, and it's tough because it's tough because you got to also look for your future generation,
Right.
because you're the generate your grand like you said, your grandkids, your kids, they're all looking at you,
Right.
even though you don't think they are.
Oh
They
yeah.
are.
Oh, I know.
And something that I feel like they do more for what you do than what you say,
Right.
because sometimes you say, don't do this, but then again, you're the one doing it. That doesn't, to them, is like, well, if he can do it, so can I.
Right.
And that goes with a good thing and a bad thing. If they see you doing something bad and you're okay with it, then they're gonna think they're okay.
It's okay.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
okay. Well, one of the things my son tells me, my oldest son, he tells me all the time, and he come to me and he said, Mom, I thank you. And I said, what are you thanking me for? He said, I saw you many years where you would work 2 jobs at time, to take care of us. Now my son works 2 jobs. And he said, if you could do it, I can do it. So I know that he saw what I was trying to accomplish.
Yes.
And they never saw or felt like we didn't have, because I wanted always to make sure that they had the things that they needed. I didn't want them to want for anything, and I didn't want them to feel like they didn't have things. So that's why I worked hard to raise my family.
Right.
Yes.
And now they're doing,
Doing well.
yeah, and doing what you're doing.
Right.
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 And not only that, but they know they have to work for something.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is not handed down to you. You have to work hard for what you want. You appreciate it more when you
Yes.
work for it than
Yes.
somebody give it to you.
And just the feeling of it when you've accomplished that and you earned it,
Yeah.
it's so gratifying. And
They are my medals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good. I like that.
Yeah, they're my medals.
So I bought something.
What do you have in the bag? Ooh. I'm gonna spend the night.
We're gonna be passed out.
Oh no, 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 no.
If I could just get it open. So this I've never tried. I never tried this one.
Uh-huh.
Have you tried it?
No.
So we're both gonna try it together. We're gonna do a little review on it.
Okay. We're gonna take a sip and a swallow, but not the whole bottle.
No. Yeah, and so after you're working at General Dynamics, and then you said it got bought off by Lockheed.
Right.
So you were pretty much working for Lockheed,
Right.
which is a huge aerospace company.
Correct.
How was it working for Lockheed?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. It was a lot of experience, and it was a lot of opportunities there, and just to walk down the aisles and see the planes were really exciting.
What kind of planes did you guys see?
When I worked there, we was working on F-16s. Woo! The party has started.
So it was the F-16s. Oh, and you got to see those live?
Right.
Wow.
They're on the floor.
And were you guys assembling for the F-16s?
Right.
Mm.
Right.
So you were working pretty much all the guts of the airplane, right?
Correct.
All the
Hmm.
electrical,
Hmm.
putting on the huge electronics to for the systems and all that, right?
Correct. I did a lot of the harnesses that went into the airplanes, a lot of the PC boards, a lot of the harnesses. That's mainly what I did.
Mm. How
Right.
long were you there?
Oh God, let me see. Probably about 12 years.
Oh wow,
Yeah. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
And what you said you loved it? What happened there?
That's when, like I said, we was going through all the strikes and the
Oh,
layoffs and the those kind of situations and
what were mostly the strikes about?
the contract negotiations and
Oh, really?
yeah, just like the ones they've been through going through for years.
Mm.
When they come up on the new contract and negotiating them and
Mm.
yeah.
It's cheers. Hopefully, it's good.
Let me see if you have more than me.
Mm.
It tastes like champagne. It's
It does.
good.
It's good.
Mhm. Well, if I knew I was going to have champagne, I would have wore an evening dress.
Okay, and then after, so there was General Dynamics,
Hmm.
and then Lockheed, and Lockheed would give, I would imagine like good benefits, good bonus, and all that. Um, and how was the management?
I think everything was well. The only things that I just like I said couldn't really deal with was the strikes and the time off and going through that and try the transition of all of that. That's the only part that I really had problems with. You had to wait on your money and things like that, and it was kind of hard when I was trying to raise three kids.
Yeah,
So that was the hard part of it.
right.
But as far as I mean, if I could still be there, I probably would have been. But I had to move on to other things to provide.
At that time, was it a corporation?
Yeah.
Ha- Have you ever worked for like a privately owned company?
Yes.
Which one do you like the most?
I worked for Williams Pyro.
Okay.
That's the job where my son works now. He's a
Oh.
machinist there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was an assembler there, and I loved it there as well. And then I worked there for I believe 9 years, and I've worked for Coupler, and I work for independently owned company now,
Mm-hmm.
and
Because this is my well, where we're at right now. This is my first, I guess, would you say, corporate company that I
Mhm.
work for. All the other companies that I work for were more privately owned,
Mhm.
and in the corporation, it just seems harder to get recognized,
Right.
harder to get your point across. To where in privately owned companies, the president or the owner of the company is right there and then.
Mhm.
So if you have any issues, and he's able to see you on a day-to-day basis,
Right.
so he sees the work that you're putting into the company,
Right.
not only to the company but to his company.
Right.
So you get rewarded by all that. But in a corporation, the CEO, president, or whatever it may be,
Mhm.
is usually not there. So they don't see, all the work that you're putting
Right.
into it. You don't get recognition.
Mhm.
And, it's just, for me, it just seems like a slower process to grow and to
Right.
build.
Mhm. I agree. I agree. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough right now.
Yes. Especially if you're trying to go somewhere and just go up the ladder pretty much.
Hmm.
It is tough. it is. It is. I mean, like I said, in being in the position that I've been in, I just feel like I've been passed by a lot of things. But again, I don't dwell on that. I just keep doing what I'm doing.
Right.
to
focus on your big goal.
exactly, exactly, and that's what keep me going.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I've been recognized a lot of times. You know, I've received awards
Mm.
in many occasions, but when it came down to the real award, it was like no.
Mm.
So
Right.
yeah, but I'm grateful.
Right. And that's one of the things that you mostly learned from, was it from your dad?
Yes, yes. My mother was a very good encourager. She would, I mean, before her passing, she would call me every morning and encourage me. She always had an encouraging word, and she would always tell me that she loved me, and it made it worth it because
Right.
it was my ride to work every morning that she would, you know, give me some words of encouragement, and that was more than enough to know that I can go into this job with some love without, you know, a lot of people are not morning people. I'm a morning person, and I don't have to have a cup of coffee to talk to you first. I just come in, hey, how you doing? You know, and she would always give me that love. You know, now my daughter takes her place, and she calls me and encourages me. Mama, have a good day, and it makes it all worth it. You
Hmm.
know, to know that someone's thinking of you when you're going into someone's workplace, it makes it all better.
Right. And that's a great thing that you, I mean, just like when you said that, it takes a village to raise a child,
Hmm.
because you kind of have to learn from everybody.
That's right.
Everybody has their own experiences.
That's right.
Everybody has their own things that they want to do. And that's important for somebody young to, pay attention and go to, let's say, the aunts, the uncles, to learn from there. But it's also, I mean, now we see it's scary because you hear stories about uncles and aunts taking advantage of abusing the kids, and it's tricky. But you also gotta tell your kids that it's okay for them to communicate
That's right.
whatever they want to
That's right.
communicate,
Yeah.
and for
Always
the
leave the door open to let them know
yes,
that you can come to me about any and everything, and I applaud that you come to me. I have a 10-year-old granddaughter. Her name is DeRay, and she always come to me, Granny. I want to tell you something. Or, Granny, let me talk to you about this. You know, she respects everything that I say to her. If I tell her the sky is falling, she's gonna get her umbrella because she believes what her granny tells her. So I respect that because she honors me. You know, and that's great because I know that she would come to me with anything, any and everything, and I find that to be true in all of my children. They'll come to me and talk to me about things, you know, and that's wonderful because I think that you have to find a comfort zone in your life, and they
mm,
always come to me and talk to me, and I kind of find that in my friends too. You know, they trust me. They trust me with advice. They trust me because a lot of them, and even people that are younger than myself, as you, I tell you things because I've already been where you're going.
right,
So that's one of the things I used to remember because we couldn't be in the room with our elders if they were talking or they was having conversations with others. We couldn't be in the same room. So you know,
what do you think about that?
I think it was a good thing.
Mm,
You know, I feel like children these days are too involved in grown people business, and I think that we have to let them be children while they're children.
yep,
I really feel like children need to be children.
yeah,
You know, um, so I still do that with my children. If it's grown people talking in the room, I excuse them. You
makes
know,
sense,
because it's a lot of things they don't need to hear. Some of the
right,
things that's too hard for my ears. You
right,
know? So I try to keep them away from all that. So I think that there's a time and a place for everything.
right,
And I raised my children like old school, and then my grandchildren like old school. There's nothing wrong with old school, and it's a little bit wrong with new school, but that's because I'm from the old school.
right. And how was it? What's the difference between your old school and the new school?
Oh my God, it's a lot of difference. How much time do we have?
You could go all day.
Oh my God, I tell you, it's a lot of difference. I again, the most part that I think in that is that we just have to teach our children respect and to love one another and to don't get caught up in the wrong things and to know the difference. That's the biggest thing, to know the difference
between right and wrong.
Exactly. Good and bad. Up and down, left and right. Know
the right
difference.
People and the wrong people.
Exactly. Because don't get a wolf in sheep clothing.
Mm.
And as Chuck say, don't take a wooden nickel. That's one of the things my mom used to tell me too. Don't take wooden nickels because it might look good to you, but I seen a cartoon one day. It says everything that glitters is not gold.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
So I respect that. And I've challenged that in my life, and I've known it to be true.
Right. Yeah. So, what is one of the things that that you hope to achieve, maybe in the future, or goals for yourself?
I've to be honest, Omar, I've almost captured all my goals. I've raised my 3 children. I was a caregiver for my mother and my father. Both of them are resting in heaven now. I've set myself in stone, and I really think that I have something to leave behind for my children and my grandchildren. They know what their goals should be. And I hope that they have been able to set some of those goals on the things that I have shown them. It's getting real close to me to retire because, like I said, I've been going since I was 16, and this train is almost over.
Right.
But I plan to be an OG granny. I'll probably be in bingo, being B9. Yeah, that's gonna be my goal now because I really feel like I've done everything that I need to do. My bucket list is complete.
That's good.
I have my whole family back together now.
And then you've traveled, right?
Traveled, man. Look.
What are the most favorite places that you've gone to?
I went to Dominican Republic.
Okay.
And I really loved it there. I loved the resorts there, and the food was fabulous. And the men, man. But everything was so wonderful there, and I've traveled so many places, and I have to say that Dominican, and when I traveled to Florida, I loved Orlando. My daughter and myself, we flew, and we went to Disney World or Disneyland, whichever one it is, Disney. We saw Mickey Mouse and Minnie and Donald, and I really enjoyed that. And it was just us, and we didn't have a care in the world, and I loved it. And the people in Florida was very friendly. And I think Dominican and Florida and California was one of my favorites. But I've been many places. Some I might not want to tell you about, but I enjoyed just traveling. I'm at a younger age. I wasn't one to travel. My mother was a traveler. They went to Colorado and everywhere, and I told them, I said, I don't want to go.
Really?
Yeah. If you travel in car, like you said, I didn't too much like that. But you get me there and let me enjoy myself there, I'm good. But that riding in the car, which I know a lot of people are different. They like to travel and see and things like that. But I've never been a person to like to travel a lot in the car.
What about, have you tried traveling in like RVs or Winnebagos or stuff like that?
That's for old people.
I'll take that as a no.
No. I told you I'm going to be an OG granny. No, I have never traveled in the RVs or anything like that. It's either been plane, train, or automobile. So I would love to ride the train, though. I want to ride the train somewhere.
You haven't rode the train?
No.
That's one of the things that I would want to do, too.
I want to ride the train.
Yes. Even just take it from here, Dallas to Houston, or to San Antonio.
Yeah, I'm wait till that flood leaves.
Dude.
Though. I'm gonna tell you that the hurricane and the floods and yeah, but I really want to go on the train. I don't even care if I go by myself.
There you go. You can add that to the bucket list after retirement.
I'm gonna put one more thing on
Yep,
there. Then
yep, yeah.
go back a few steps and let me take that back. Yeah, I wanna ride the train.
There you go.
Yeah.
So do you continue? Do you want to try continue traveling after you retire?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no because I've became a real homebody now.
Mm,
I just like to be at home and around family,
relax.
and relax and enjoy them and cook for them and let them enjoy my cooking because I love to cook. So
What do you love to cook?
Everything,
What are your
everything.
What are your dishes?
Oh man, everything. My children love my chicken spaghetti, and I fix them enchiladas, and I fix them soul food and some cornbread. And
You gotta have me over one day.
well, you see, if you come and eat my food, I don't want to see you out on my porch talking about, can I come in again? Because I cook really well,
Okay.
really well.
Okay.
My kids say, I fix you a peach cobbler, a pecan pie. Some people say pecan, pecan.
I say pecan.
Tomatoes, potatoes. Yes, but I love to cook. I always fed my children really well. That's why Mama, you gonna cook? And but I love to cook because I love to see people eat. I don't like when people waste food. It takes me back to old school because we had to eat what was on our plate.
Right.
And we had to respect that.
Right.
Now I understand when I have to buy it.
Right.
I didn't understand then. I'm like, I don't like it.
How do you feel when you see people that don't finish their plates, or when you see them
that's so
throw away?
wasteful. That's wasteful. I have a couple of grandchildren that are wasteful. Yeah.
Do you teach your daughter, your kids, all your recipes?
Of course,
Mm.
of course. My daughter, I'm always sending her recipes, and I think this Thanksgiving I'm gonna hand the dish to her for Thanksgiving dinner. I usually always do all the Thanksgiving cooking, so I think I'm gonna hand her the dressing. Some people call it stuffing, but we call it dressing. I'm gonna give her the task of the dressing, and see how well she
The
does.
dressing for the turkey?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a big thing in our family.
Yes. No, and that's important that you're giving off your responsibilities and the stuff that you learned to do as far as cooking.
Oh yeah.
Because there's a lot of, women out there that don't cook.
It's a shame.
It is a shame.
But I've learned in different cultures that the mother, a lot of mothers, they feel like the kitchen is theirs, and they don't teach their girls to cook. They let them help prepare, like cut the onions and that. But as far as cooking and knowing all the ingredients, they don't let them do that. They teach them how to clean the house and all that. But I believe in teaching my daughters and my granddaughters how to cook.
Right.
And my 10-year-old, she can bake like you wouldn't believe.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Should put her on that baking show.
No, I was thinking about it. But she's the kind of person that kind of look around and see who's doing what instead of focusing. She's beating me. She has 4 eggs and I have 3.
So she's very competitive.
Very. So I think
that can be a good thing.
Yeah, it could be, but they're gonna have to put her in a room by herself. I'll put some of those blinders on her because if she sees someone doing a little bit more than her, it's gonna distract her. But bless her heart, I love her. I love you, Ray Ray.
And that's important because, that's the only way. That's one of the ways that your culture can live through all the future generations. Right. You gotta show them you gotta continue your language, the way you speak, your slangs, your
ebonics.
Yes, your foods. Right. All that is important.
I really feel like that my family, a lot of times, like I said, my parents are are in heaven now, and a lot of things that they told me and they shared with me. Sometimes I sit to myself and I laugh. And I remember I used to say little sayings that my dad used to tell me or my mom used, and they would laugh because they would think, "You remember that," And that's one thing that I know that no one can take away from you is memories.
Mm.
So I feel like that what I instill in my children, they will remember me, and it can't say, "Well, Mama didn't teach me that," or "She didn't show me that." I mean, I'm always talking to them. Even the drive here, I tell my son, "Slow down a little bit." And he figure out why that I'm saying this because we don't know when we have to get off or when we have to get on. So it's always a lesson. You learn something every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day of your life, you learn something.
Yeah.
It's just up to you to sit back and recognize what it was that you learned that day.
Yeah.
So,
And memories are interesting because not only do you remember that particular moment with that particular person, but there's also an emotional attachment with that. It's like as soon as you remember that, you start to remember the smell, you start to remember the feeling, you start to remember the people.
that's right.
And sometimes that even that experience, that memory motivates you to do it.
To do better.
Yes,
And to
exactly.
do that, to do better, it's something about that moment. It's just something about that moment that no one could take away from you. No one. I don't. It doesn't. You know how some people see things a different way, but it's something about that moment. You can't change that. So it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. And I have so many memories, even as far back as my grandparents.
Mm.
I remember my grandmother being a really good cook, both of them, and that's what they did. And I remember when I first started cooking, my grandmother was one of my biggest critics.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think you need to add a little more sugar to this, honey. And I remember one day she just kept pushing on it, pushing on it. You just have to put a little more sugar. You put, okay, it was just like, okay, I get it. But I learned from that, and look at how many years that was, and I still remember that moment.
Right.
So that's what I said. Memories is golden.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Because most of the time your memories capture your emotions, your feelings, but when you just when you just become materialistic, it's not really the material that you hold to that memory. It's the feeling.
Right.
The feeling or what you had to go through
Mm-hmm.
to achieve and reward yourself with that item.
Right.
That's why we say, sometimes when you work so hard for something
Mm-hmm.
and you finally end up getting the reward or what you earned, it's so much better.
Right.
And at that point, the material doesn't work. I mean, the material doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
All there is the feeling.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And all you're looking for after that is, okay, how can I get this feeling again?
Again.
Yeah.
Yes. My son, my middle child, my son, he's big on horses, and he's jockey, and he does all the horses and horse races and things like that.
Mm.
And we always go down memory lane of how the horse is supposed to be treated, and be supposed to be groomed, and how the race. We went to Top Golf, and
Oh.
they had the horse races, and we sat and we bet on the horses, amongst each other. We wrote down who we thought we were going to win and all that, and then we remembered the races that we had in the past, and how to remember how to bet on the horses, who was the favorites and all of that. And those are good memories too. I mean, he is really into the horses.
And the horses here in Fort Worth?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Fort Worth, Lone Star, and we used to back in the days go to Ross Downs and all that. So all those memories are golden too.
Right. So how many horses does he have?
Too many.
Really?
Too many.
So does he do all the maintenance on those horses?
Yes.
Really?
He trusts himself with his horses. Yeah.
Isn't that like a full-time job almost?
Yes.
Really?
For him, he's dedicated to those horses.
You gotta feed them.
Feed 'em.
You gotta change, what is it, the hooves? No,
You have to change their horseshoes.
the horseshoes. There you go.
Yes, they
The
put 'em on their
horseshoes.
hoofs.
Yes. You gotta trim them. You gotta. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, my dad used to work at Santa Anita Park
Mm-hmm.
in California, and when we came over here to United States, that's where he worked, and luckily that company was able to provide him with a small room,
Mm.
a small room where he was able to stay
Mm-hmm.
and work,
Right.
and that's where we ended up.
Mm-hmm.
So you had all of us,
Mm.
my mom, my dad, uh, my brothers, and my sister all living in the same room,
Right.
and um, we would be we would all be wake up to horse poop. We were
Yep.
here
Mm-hmm.
smell horse,
Mm-hmm.
smell hay, and everything, and it's great also in memories that there was a starting point from there and where we are now,
Correct.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and what all the struggles that even my dad had to come across just for us to have,
Right.
just for us to have the privilege to come over here.
Right. Right.
You know?
And those memories make you better.
Right.
And that's what you want for your family. The things that you had to endure, maybe some of the things you don't want your children to endure, and then it's some things that you do have to instill in them so that everything would be okay for them. But yeah, life is a struggle, but
Right.
you have choices, and I think that's just really great because, like I said, my children never felt like there was a struggle because I didn't let them see the struggle. Never let my children see the struggle. I just would go in my room at night and pray about it and figure out what the next day was going to be. But I never let them see what the struggle was. Then, as they got older, I had to introduce the struggle to them because
Mm.
they needed to know that
Mm-hmm.
it is a struggle out there. Like I said, my daughter went to Tyler, Texas College, but she was ready because I had to introduce her to life. I went and opened a bank account for her, and hey, this is how you pay your bills.
Mm.
When being grown doesn't make it easy.
How old was she at that?
She graduated when she was 17.
Oh, okay.
So I started introducing her. She started working at Targets at the age of 16. And I just kept introducing her to new things and how to pay bills, how to buy the things that you need, and made my children ready for when they left the nest. I didn't want them to go out there blindsided and say, "Oh no, I can't." And I wanted them to be able to go, even though I hated to see them go, but I knew that they had to go. So I made sure that they were ready.
And that's important because that's something that you don't learn from school.
No.
That's something that, unfortunately, a lot of people don't have their parents that to teach them those things. But, if you do, that's something that you should definitely be implementing into
Right.
your things to do to tell your kids, what it takes to pay a bill
Mhm.
and what do you need to do to pay that bill.
That's right.
They
That's
have
right.
to, learn the process because it's regardless or not, you have to do it,
That's right.
whether you like it or not.
Like it or not, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, and it's just like the first homeowner people. They teach you when you're going from an apartment to a home. You're no longer having someone come and fix things for you.
Mm.
You no longer have someone cutting the grass for you. No longer do you have free water. No longer some places you have free lights. Now all of the responsibility is yours. So it's the same thing when you leave in your parents' house. It's no longer someone cutting the grass for you. It's no longer someone paying the water, the lights for you. No one paying the mortgage for you. Now it's about you stepping up to do
Mm-hmm.
these things. You may come back home because you don't have any pots and pans, but eventually you're going to have your own pots and pans and your own glasses and your own silverware. So that's what I prepared my children for, and that's what I try to instill in my grandchildren. I know sometimes they get tired of me talking to them about it, but again, it's going to be one of those memories that they look back and say, she told me this.
Right.
And I want them to be able to see just what I'm trying to show them.
Right.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't feel like they're listening,
Hmm.
they kind of are.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then they don't realize it
Hmm.
till that moment comes and they're they deal with it and they're like, okay, you know what? Now I'm here, and from what I remember, my mom told me this,
Hmm.
so this is what I have to do.
Right.
And that's great because sometimes when it comes to that moment, they're dumbfounded. They don't know what to do.
That's right.
But because they have that memory of you telling them and giving that lecture,
Right.
they know exactly what to do.
Gotta do it. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. And if I've always had that rule too. Like my mom told me, if you're not sure, ask the question.
Mm.
If you're still not sure, ask the question again
Mm.
until you get the answer that you need. And then if you have to come back tomorrow and ask that same question, because they said the dumbest one is the one not asked.
Yep.
So that's what I instill. Also, ask me if you're not sure. I don't you don't be confused. And if I don't know, we're gonna be dumb together because I'm not smarter than a fifth grader. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like there's a quote that's I'm gonna get it all messed up, but it says, um, don't ask a question and be an idiot for your life,
Hmm.
or ask the question and be an idiot just for that moment.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
it's like there, even though it's a dumb question,
Hmm.
you gotta ask it,
Yeah.
and at least you'll know the answer to it, and you can move forward. But you gotta be open to all the questions, no matter what,
That's
from
right.
anybody.
That's right.
You gotta be open minded,
That's right.
and you gotta be willing to have at least a conversation about that topic
That's correct.
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I think you're trying to beat me.
I already beat you.
Slow down.
I'm ready for another refill.
Round two.
So, what you got going on this weekend?
Um, I think I'm gonna do a lot of cleaning
Oh.
this weekend. That don't sound like anything exciting, but like I said, I'm kind of homebody and working every day and the hours that we work,
Yeah.
it kind of get you off balance a little bit. So I have to find myself and say, hey, you need to spend some time in this room.
Right.
Like my song say, come on in the room. So I just want to, clean in my house and I turn on some jazz or some music and before I know it, we squeaky clean. But that's what I plan on doing this weekend. It's just cleaning.
How are you handling this whole pandemic thing?
I'm handling it with God.
Mm.
I'm not leaving him out of any of it. I pray about it. I'm fortunate enough to have a workspace where I work by myself, and I come in company with people, but we all are respectful to each other. But I think that the world have to understand that God is not pleased with a lot of things, and we have left him out of a lot of things. God was taken from the schools, and he shut down the schools. And we go to restaurants, and we forget to pray over our food,
Mm.
and he shut down the restaurants.
Mm.
And we go to work, and we forget to pay our tithes, and he shut down our workplaces.
Mm.
So I think that a lot of people need to realize that a lot of things that is going on is because God is not pleased. We can't leave God out of anything that we do. Nothing is by chance. Nothing is by luck. Everything is by grace. So I take it, like I said with Jesus. I pray a lot,
That's good.
and then a lot I pray. So I'm just careful. I respect the rules, and I pray for everybody because there's been a lot of sick people. But it's a lot of things that is going on with this that a lot of people are not aware of. We have to educate ourselves. Again, don't be ignorant.
Hmm.
So that's how I handle it.
That's good.
Yeah, I respect it.
That's great. Is there any crazy stuff going around your area?
Where I work, and we've had a couple of people that have been affected by it. Um, I've had several family members that live in East Texas
Hmm.
that has died from it.
Really?
Yes. So that's what they say they died from. You
Yeah.
know. But again, I respect it. My home has been blessed. And um, I almost get tired of turning on the news
Yeah, it's scary.
because that's all you hear. Yeah, you can't hear about the two puppies that was rescued from the drain. It always have to be, excuse me, have to be about that, and that's good. A lot of people like to hear that. I just don't like to hear the bad.
Right.
Um,
You kind of have to stay away from that negativity.
right,
Too
right.
much of it is not good for you.
A lot of people they're getting sick because they know people are getting sick.
Right.
So they're worrying themselves with it.
Right.
I'm not saying not to be aware. Always be aware at all times. But oh my goodness,
Yeah.
we're gonna pray our way through this. I really feel like the world is gonna get better, but I think that people are gonna have a different outlook on what's going on, and I just hope that they implement God back into their lives because that's where we need to be
Right.
for every reason.
Right.
For every reason, for everything that we've talked about today, he needs to be there in the midst of it all. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and it's sad because a lot of the people that are causing chaos and are in the riots and making all this vandalism,
Hmm.
when they're put out of work, they have nothing else to do.
Right.
And now with social media and all these platforms, there's on top of it the news.
Hmm.
There's Facebook,
Hmm.
there's Instagrams, there's Twitter,
Hmm.
and now there's TikTok. So people drown themselves with all this information, all this negativity, and since they don't have any work, they're the only thing that they can do is go outside and kind of cause chaos. But it's like that's where the parents should also step in.
Hmm.
Like, what are you doing outside?
Right.
Go over here. Why are you worried about outside? You never worry about what's inside the house.
Right.
Go cut the grass.
Mhm.
Go wash the dishes.
Yeah.
Go build something.
Well, I think that a lot of kids are like you said, you can't even have a conversation with a child without them being on their phone.
Mm.
They spend just entirely too much time on their phone. To me, I think a lot of parents need to monitor their children's activities on their phone because a lot of things is going on that you don't know about. I ask my grandkids all the time, "What's that? Let me see what you're doing. Let me see what that is. Who is that?" I just I need to know. Because we can get lost. You can't even go to Chili's and have a date with someone without both of them on the phone. The menu is
Yeah.
not on the phone. Lay your phones down and talk to each other, people. Talk to each other.
Right.
Just like you and I are doing.
Right.
That's how was your day?
Right.
How are you feeling today?
Right.
Yes. What are your plans?
Right.
What's going on?
Right.
If it's not TikTok, or this it's Facebook.
And this is a lot better because you can see the emotions.
Right.
Like this. I'm not saying something, and you get offended by it
Right.
because you see. I mean, we led up to this.
Right.
I don't all of a sudden say something and then expect for it to offend you.
Mhm.
We already know, we already set the tone,
Right.
the mood, the vibe for all this.
Right.
So we know everything is just fun and games.
For the games.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. Yep. And how was it growing up? Were you able to go outside and do your own thing with your friends
Oh
and
my
all that?
God, we stayed outside. We stayed outside. We
Really?
stayed outside all day, but we had to be home before the street light came on. And I remember if that street light came on, you were in trouble. But back in the days, they had this little thing that came on the TV, and it would say, "It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?"
Oh, really?
Yes.
Mm,
It came on. It make a loud, like the Amber Alert. It's
really?
10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?
We should have that.
Man, this is what I'm talking about. A lot of the things they need to bring back from the old days.
Yeah.
But that you would know where your children were. And we didn't need, have some kids, I need some water. It's hot. Well, we had the water hose, okay? That was our water. And it was never too hot.
Right.
Never too hot. We never complained about it being hot. But we could ride our bikes all day. We could play ball. We could sit in the shade. But that's when friends were really friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm asking because I have a daughter, and it's kind of hard sometimes just to even when we go walk outside, sometimes we're the only ones walking outside. You see, but the kids are all inside playing their video games on their tablet and all that. You rarely see kids outside. But even when you do, it's to a parent also with all this news and all these experiences and with all these things going on. It's a bit scary.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a bit scary.
Nothing to offer but the media because they're on their phones as well.
Right. Because just kind of like the way you were raised was kind of the way I was raised too.
Excuse me.
I was raised in I was born in Mexico, and in Mexico, as soon as I came from school, I would be with my friends all day, and I wouldn't get home till 8, 9 o'clock at night, and there'd be no worries. So we're kind of blessed to have a childhood like that,
Right.
to where we have experiences and freedom.
Right.
Because in the tablet or in playing video games, what memories are you creating?
None. Who got the highest point?
Yeah, and how long does that last?
Until you turn the TV off. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But I just have so many fond memories of when I was a child. And, I see a lot of my friends that I grew up with during the years, and we always talk about, well, you remember we used to play hopscotch? You remember when we used to play this? Remember when we did this? You remember when we had a fight? And you remember, it was just all of that, and that is so wonderful. But we need some old school back.
Yeah.
And we need to allow our children to go outside. But I think that kids these days would think that that's a form of punishment
Mm.
if they have to go outside. It's 100 degrees outside. Are you kidding me? But we never would complain about it being too hot because it wasn't the same hot.
Right. And the fun of it overcame the heat. It's like you don't care that it was hot as long as you're having fun. That's all that matters.
And another thing, my parents never allowed us to sleep late. We could 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, not 9, 7 or 8. We were up because my dad always said it was something to do. If it was to cut the grass, if it was to make your bed, but we was never allowed to leave our home without making our bed.
Mm.
And to this day, I will be late to work if I
Just
don't have
to do
to
your
make
bed?
up my bed. Yes, but
Like,
that's
Valerie, why were you late?
I had to make my bed. Ah, my dust ruffle was leaning. I have to. It's just in me. I have a routine. I have to get up and make up my bed and feed my fish. Make sure there's no dishes in the sink, and because I never know if I'm gonna come home with company.
Right.
And I just don't want them to come in my house and, excuse my house. I don't want it to be an excuse. I want you to be welcome, and I want you feel free to come in my house. I like for my house to smell good. I come in my house, come on in the room. Right. So what I love. You know, that's the way I was raised. We had to do it.
Right.
And my father was, oh, you know how you come in and pull your shoes off? Oh, no, it's a place for those shoes. Where do they
Mm.
go? He was firm about that. Firm.
And that's good to have. And that's I feel like part of that is also some self discipline. That they kind of embed into you. I kind of feel like kids are born with self discipline,
Mm-hmm.
but parents can also take that away
Yeah.
because just like when a kid is starting to walk,
Mm-hmm.
that kid is disciplined and focused that he will walk.
Mm-hmm.
you know but then when you have parents telling him, oh no, you can't do that,
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't do that,
Right.
that kind of kills their motivation and their self discipline, because they're like, oh well, I don't have to do that,
Right.
or okay, they said that can be done, so I'm not gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to, if they want to do anything, whatever it may be, as long as they have guidance,
That's right.
as long as they have guidance and you showing them as an example that they can get through
You can
it
do it.
and accomplish it, they're gonna do that with everything.
That's right.
Whatever they want to do in life, they can accomplish it.
An achiever.
Yes.
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 Yeah. Well, I try to encourage my children and my grandchildren in a lot of things that they do. I have my oldest, no, not my next to the oldest grandson that wants to play pro football,
Mm-hmm.
and I encourage him to not only focus on football but focus on his personality.
Mm.
Because for one thing, just like you and I are having a conversation, if he have to get up and have a Prescott or whatever, he can't get up there with an attitude or, with a lot of arrogance. He has to have integrity.
Mm.
And so I tried to talk to him, you can be as mad as you want to be on the football field, but when you come off the field, you have to be the person that you need to be. Be presentable for yourself. And my oldest granddaughter, she wants to do cosmetology, and she wants to go like to New York and places like that to do hair. Along with you, you take your personality.
Mm.
You be kind to people, be respectful to people. I just experienced something before I came today, and we were at a store, and the lady was trying to help a gentleman at the store, and she walked off, and she was like, his attitude is really bad. I don't want to deal with him. And I was telling my son, your attitude will make the worst of you if you have a bad attitude. Don't nobody want to deal with your bad attitude, not even yourself. So I try to teach them to present yourself in a way that you can be welcomed back at all times.
Right. Because that can also be contagious,
Oh yeah,
right? If you're having a bad day
yeah,
and you just let that get a hold of you and you walk around everywhere with that kind of attitude, it's contagious.
it is.
And people don't want that.
As bad as the pink eye.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
People are gonna stay away from.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They don't want that.
It's just like this virus. You need to go. Give me 50 feet. I want 50. I want more than 6. I need 50 feet. Yes. Yes.
yeah, it's very important. Also, because your attitude can also take you places. I feel like your attitude and your work ethic kind of coincide with one another.
Right.
It's like, okay, to me that would seem like a good package. You got good work ethic and you got a good attitude.
Right.
That means I could put you wherever I want and you're going to succeed
Yeah.
and you're going to make the best out of it.
It's like having good credit. It's like having good credit. You can go as far as you need to if you have those things.
Right.
It's just that. It's nothing that you can't get when you have good credit.
Yeah.
You know, just like my great grandfather used to say, if you don't have any money, you have that credit.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm.
that's the way they used to deal back in the days. They didn't have money, but their word was their bond, so that was their credit.
Mm.
Basing that upon you'll pay me when you get it, but if your credit was bad, you couldn't get anything, not a bag of flour or anything. So, you know, your attitude, your integrity, your personality, all of that is just like good credit.
Right.
If you got a good score,
You get anything.
anything, anything,
Right.
anything, you'll go high. You know, no one's gonna put. Well, they shouldn't put you in a position to where you have to deal with people because everybody is not people persons.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a supervisor that don't know how to deal with people, it's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
It's kind of awkward because you're supposed to be able to go to them for whatever reason to ask a question, to present it. Sometimes you go to them with personal things, and you have to be able to trust them with what you're going to them for, not to them to give you a bad attitude and not want to go back.
Right.
So I think that's important.
Yeah. And you have to let go of your ego
Hmm.
and disconnect from your position.
Hmm.
You know, I feel like a lot of people that are in high positions,
Hmm.
because they're given that position,
Hmm.
they think that they're high and mighty.
Oh yeah.
And then when somebody comes and talk to them, they're like, well, I'm so and so. I don't got time for that.
You're beneath them.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. It's like, no, you gotta let go of your ego, and you gotta disconnect yourself from that position and just become a normal person
Right.
and have a normal conversation.
Right.
And I feel like that's also what separates a leader from a boss.
Right.
A boss will tell you, do this and this and this. While the people beneath that boss are doing all the work,
Hmm.
he's just there in his office,
Right.
nothing. But a leader will actually put in the work
Hmm.
and scoot down to that level,
Hmm.
to beneath you, and work with the team.
And pull a chair up beside you and
Yes,
work with you. That's a
exactly.
leader.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like, we need more of those
Yes. I agree.
everywhere we go.
I agree. But the one thing that I do know that when you're given a position as as a president, a manager, or whatever, the same way that you was given that, you can get that taken away from you.
Mm.
In the same sense that but you have to understand that there was a ladder that you had to climb to get there. But the ladder works both ways. You go up and you can come down.
Oh,
But it's what you do with it while you're up here. So you have to remember your journey up that ladder. Remember that what it took for you to get there, but not to get here and look down on the people below you. So it's those people are trying to get there too.
mm-hmm.
Maybe not to where you are, but we're trying to go somewhere. So I just know that you have to remember where you came from.
Mm,
And that
very
goes over
important.
the whole thing that we've been talking about, just like you was talking about your family at the born or the room. You remember where you came from and you make it an effort not to go back there.
Right.
So it's real important.
Right.
Really
And
important.
sometimes it's good to live. I don't know if it's a good thing, but maybe to some people it's good to live from of fear, because some people, like, sometimes you fear things and you do whatever it takes not to take you back. So you do whatever it takes so that way you don't go back to it, and you kind of go over your fear. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. It does.
Yeah, and you just gotta, continue on working, because that's sometimes you're gonna keep on pushing and keep on working even when something is not reachable.
Right.
And that's
That's a
also
goal.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
a goal. That's a goal. I mean, you have to conquer your fears.
Mm-hmm.
You have to conquer them and overcome them, because a lot of people have fear of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
But until you see what you're looking for, then you see the light.
Mm.
So you've accomplished your fear of darkness. And so many people have different fears, but until they face them, just like food, you say, I don't like that, I don't like it. Then until you try it, you don't know. So you have to conquer whatever it is your fear is.
Right.
So life is life is about a lot of fear, because that's, like I said, about becoming an adult. It's very fearful,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to conquer it. I got to
Right.
get in there and do it. I've got to do it. And you're going to fail. You're going to fall a lot of times, but you pick yourself back up and keep on going. My children used to fall many times, and they went, get up, let's go.
Mm.
You're okay. You're not bleeding, let's go. Let's go. And if you're bleeding, let's get 2 Band-Aids. Let's go. You just have to go.
Right.
Yes.
There's a kind of a quote that I kind of follow by is from like a military standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
where when you're working, you gotta ask yourself, well, when you're pushing yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta ask yourself, are you hurt?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but are you injured?
Mm-hmm.
Being hurt,
Yes.
and being injured
2 different things.
is 2 different things.
Yeah.
If you're hurt, you can still continue.
Keep going.
Keep on going.
Keep going, choo-choo.
But if you're injured, okay, you need to take a break.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have to continue.
Just put a Band-Aid on and keep going. Yeah. We're going to keep a box of Band-Aids right here. Yeah. Just keep going.
Or continue till you're injured.
Right. That's right. That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, we did already 1 hour
Okay.
and 12 minutes. So this was the longest podcast I've had.
Hey, because you got the best.
Yes. Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed it. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so much,
inviting
Valerie.
me.
And you're my Texas mom.
That's right. Get on in the room.
And I appreciate all your advice.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
And I'm always here for you. And
I'm here for you as well.
Thank you.
And your whole family.
Yes.
I love
thank
them
you.
all.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.